The game never stops, and neither do we. This is Morning Espresso, your daily shot of soccer news and perspective. We're always around the corner from everywhere on the SDH network. And before we get started, a quick word from our friends at Oglethorpe University. Oglethorpe believes in the power of sport, leadership, community, values that line up perfectly with what we do every day here at the SDH network. Whether you're looking to grow in the classroom, on the field, or in your career, Oglethorpe offers a learning environment that puts students first and prepares them to make an impact well beyond campus. You can learn more at oglethorpe.edu. I'm Jason Longshore. Thanks as always for spending a few minutes of your day with us. Today feels like one of those editions where things connect. Atlanta United setting a new identity under Tata Martino, AFCON delivering more drama and destiny, Real Madrid in turmoil, leagues and players wrestling with what the future should look like. One word keeps showing up again and again: protagonists. Teams that choose to lead, players who step into moments, leagues that decide to shape their own story instead of waiting for it to be written for them. It's a common through line here. Let's get into it. Atlanta United opened preseason with clarity of message, unity of voice. Yesterday, sporting director Chris Henderson, defender Enea Mihai, and manager Tata Martino spoke to the media. The theme was unmistakable. This team's being rebuilt in Tata's image. Chris Henderson put it best. He talked about how Tata's teams are constructed: strong at center back, strong at the six, the defensive midfield, built to control games through possession and then attack decisively in transition. That philosophy is already shaping recruitment, roster decisions. Henderson made it clear that Tata's presence changes Atlanta's pull in the market. Players want to play for him. That matters. But the message goes deeper than tactics and game models. Henderson emphasized competition as culture. Not something you talk about, it's something that you live every day. Training sessions that demand sharpness, a locker room where leadership emerges naturally after the Brad Kazan era, not assigned. He also pointed to the long view, building a core that can grow together over the next 3 to 5 years. Sustainability, identity, continuity. Enea Mihai gave us the player perspective. He talked about the high line. He talked about pressing high, no more waiting on opponents. He admitted it's harder. He talked about how this is the most, he thinks this will be the most difficult preseason that he'll ever have. He said it demands focus. It demands courage. The courage aspect of it is something that Michael Parkhurst has told us here on the SDH network about the adjustment that he went through playing for Tata Martino when he arrived in 2017. But Mihai framed it is exactly what this group needed after a mentally draining 2025 season. His words stood out, and I think his emotions stood out about just how hard 25 was for him, coming in midseason and struggling to get fit, struggling to get sharp because he had been off for a couple of months, but also struggling because of the results. He said the tactics alone aren't enough. He said the heart matters, the belief matters, the sacrifice matters. Then came Tata Martino speaking and reinforcing everything from the top. Preseason's about installing identity, physical preparation first, then the clarity of ideas. He talked about how Alexei Miranchuk and Miguel Almiron complement one another. And he said that we've seen glimpses of how that partnership can be vital for Atlanta United, and he wants to build on that. He kept returning to mentality, though. He talked about how it's a technical team, yes, but being technical is not good enough. In MLS, you have to be competitive, you have to be resilient, you have to show it every day. And that's where it comes back to protagonists. And it was something that I asked Tata just about if his game model, his philosophy, his principles have evolved since he was here last time. You know, he was with the Mexican national team, he was with Inter Miami. His philosophy and his game model has developed over a long-spanning career as a player and a manager. He said, yeah, of course, you know, there's little things that come and go and tweak and all that, and that's fine. But it comes back to what he believes in, being protagonists. He believes in teams that own matches, that use the ball to dictate how you own a match, dictate the tempo. He wants teams that don't wait for moments to create them. He wants to create moments himself. When you connect that to Henderson's long-term vision, you see where things are going. Atlanta's not just chasing results in 2026. They're trying to reclaim its place as a club that leads games, leads standards, and leads conversations in MLS. It takes a little bit of time for that to happen, but hopefully that time will be short, and Atlanta United will be leading these conversations around the league very, very soon. Let's go to AFCON. Two teams that are leading the conversation right now are Morocco and Senegal because they'll be meeting in the final. Two very different semifinals. Sadio Mane, he once again became Egypt's nightmare. Senegal dominated possession. Egypt defended with discipline. Most of the night, it felt like a game that was kind of waiting for that moment. Mane found that moment, a late strike to send Senegal into another AFCON final, and once again leave Mo Salah watching from the outside. He still has not won an AFCON championship. He might not have another opportunity to do that. And look, it's impossible to ignore the history here. Sadio Mane and Mo Salah, same age, same generation, so many trophies together at Liverpool. But on the African stage, it is Mane who keeps coming out on top. The 2021 AFCON final, 2022 World Cup qualifier, now this semifinal. For Egypt, it deepens the frustration, and you saw it kind of boil over after the game. A lot of gesticulating towards the referees, some pretty serious insinuations, it looked like, from some of the body language and some of the motions that were being made. There's been a lot of complaining in this tournament about referees. I think it kind of misses the point. For Egypt, though, you saw that frustration come out. For Senegal, it reinforces their status as maybe the most dominant force of this era. However, Morocco is trying to become that for this era and beyond. Maybe it feels like the closing of an era for Senegal. Sadio Mane said this will be his last AFCON game, the final, this weekend. Morocco, they are trying to take that mantle and run with it after a semifinal at the last World Cup, coming in as one of maybe the second tier of favorites in this World Cup this summer. They come in with the African title. That changes the conversation even more about this Morocco team. They are right there on being a powerhouse in the world's game right now. But I think winning this weekend is going to be key. I think getting to at least a quarterfinal at the World Cup this summer is going to be key. But it starts this weekend. They had to sweat through it against Nigeria, a Nigerian team that said coming in they're going to have to sit back and defend a little bit more. They weren't at full strength. You didn't have a lot of fireworks in this game. You didn't have a whole bunch of chances. A lot of tension. Two high-scoring teams canceled each other out. Neither team had trailed in the tournament. They walk out of the 120 minutes in this one, still not trailing at all in the tournament. It goes to penalties. And Yassine Bounou, the save he made where he starts to go to the side and is able to control his body enough to stop and get his right hand out to make a save. Huge. Yusuf in Nasiri converted on the next attempt. Morocco wins. Rabat erupts. And now Morocco are one match away from ending a 50-year wait for another AFCON title. Senegal trying to defend maybe their spot when it comes to being that top team in Africa. Can't wait for this weekend. This tournament has been amazing. I hope you've enjoyed it on BN Sports. I cannot wait for this final. I'm really looking forward to it. All right, let's go to Spain. Turmoil, reckoning needed in Madrid. Real Madrid crashed out of the Copa del Rey to second division Albacete in Alvaro Arbeloa's first match in charge. 3 days after a Supercopa loss in the final to Barcelona, 2 days after Xabi Alonso was dismissed, a stoppage time winner seals the upset and turns what could have been a reset in a game where you were heavily favored into a crisis. Arbeloa tried to frame it as part of a longer process. The Spanish media were not buying that. Pundits questioned his substitutions, his press conference, even if he understands what Real Madrid represents. Well, he understands it better than a lot of the journalists because he lived it, and he has lived it. He knows it. And he knows that at Real Madrid, a draw is always a tragedy. A defeat like this is seismic. The most disturbing part of the night, and look, Real Madrid has issues that are going to go well beyond Arbeloa and this roster and all these different things. We put that to the side right now. The biggest issue last night is not about the tactics. It's about outside the stadium. Racist chanting once again targeted Vinicius Jr. It's not new. There have been more than a dozen formal complaints of racist abuse directed at him in Spain. There have been legal cases, there have been statements, and yet it keeps happening. Spain has made progress. The global game has made progress, but not enough. Racism cannot remain background noise to footballing drama. It's not a subplot. It is a central issue that demands accountability, education, and serious consequences. Not someday, now. Albacete has to find these individuals and ban them from their stadium. Ban them for good. Ban them for life. Ban them until whatever real consequence you want to put to it. If they have to go through classes, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I wish I did. I don't know if anybody does, but there has to be even more efforts made to change this. And the consequences part is what I keep coming back to. There has to be real consequences. There has to be real action here. And it's way too common in Spain. And it's sad that when I saw this result, that was one of the things that I worried about would happen in some way as a consequence of this result. It's really sad that that's where the game is in not just Spain, but in Spain, which is such a wonderful soccer country. This should not be the topic. This should not be the headline. But sadly, too often it is. It has to change. We'll see if anything comes out of this one. Let's bring it back to the States. Chris Richards was named the U.S. Soccer Male Player of the Year, second straight defender to win the honor after Anthony Robinson did last year. 12 matches for the national team in 2025 for Richards, scored twice in the Gold Cup, helped Crystal Palace win the FA Cup. Sam Coffey, she made one of the biggest moves of the winter, signing with Manchester City from the Portland Thorns. Deal reported at $875,000. Cornerstone of the NWSL, one of my favorite players in the U.S. women's national team, set up, holding midfielders. Come on. They are definitely a huge part of the SDH network. Coffey joins a growing list of Americans testing themselves in the Women's Super League in England. In MLS, Tristan Blackman's contract situation continues to loom large in Vancouver and in Miami, potentially. The defender of the year in the league is not reported to preseason. He wants improved terms. He's under contract through 2027. Vancouver reportedly rejected a $3 million bid from Inter Miami for Blackman and remained committed to keeping him. But this is one to watch, and you might want to watch his social media as well. San Diego FC, they locked in Anders Dreyer through at least 2028 after his remarkable 19-goal, 19-assist debut season in the league. The club also confirmed that Irving Lozano is no longer in its plans, even though he said he is in their plans, and it's really complicated. He's under contract, so how this gets resolved, I don't exactly know. Hector Herrera, he's back in Houston after a season with Toluca. The Dynamo welcomed back a leader who captained their Open Cup run, helped change the trajectory of the club for a moment with that trophy. We'll see if he can do that again. Father Time undefeated, but let's see if Herrera can dial back the years for a little bit longer. Chicago Fire, Kellen Acosta, they mutually agreed to part ways, ending his 2-year stint in Chicago. And in the women's game, the Houston Dash signed Kate Fossey, the Mac Herman Trophy winner and one of the most productive players in college soccer, adding a proven goal scorer to the squad. Quick pause here to thank today's sponsor, Oglethorpe University. At Oglethorpe, leadership is not just something you talk about, it's something you practice every day. From academics to athletics to community engagement, Oglethorpe prepares students to think critically, act confidently, and lead with purpose. If you want to learn more about how Oglethorpe can help you shape your future, visit oglethorpe.edu. Let's go to the NWSL. We mentioned the Sam Coffey news, and there's a lot of debate about the high-impact player rule. The Players Association has filed a grievance against the league over this new rule, arguing that it violates the collective bargaining agreement and federal labor law. The union says the league created a parallel pay system outside of the salary cap without proper negotiation. The league counters that the rule is essential and that they followed all the CBA elements, and they say it's essential to keeping elite players from leaving for richer leagues abroad. Trinity Rodman's contract situation is part of this. She is out of contract at the moment. The league wants to re-sign her. She wanted to re-sign with the Washington Spirit. The contract that was agreed to was ruled to be against the league's roster rules. That is also being arbitrated right now, so I don't know where that's going to stand. Jeff Kassouf has been all over this at ESPN. Highly recommend following him on social media and also checking out his pieces at ESPN. He lays out all the tension really clearly in all of it. The league wants global relevance. They want superstars. The players want fair process collective bargaining. The union wants money to be added to the salary cap so teams can just spend it however they want. The league wants additional money spent on top-end players, on stars. MLS went through this with the designated player rule. It's worked really well for MLS. That doesn't mean this is the way for the NWSL, the high-impact player rule. I don't think it's perfect, but I do think there should be an understanding of why the league would want superstars to build around and why the Players Association would want everybody to make more money. I get where both sides are coming from. There's going to have to be some give and take here. Hopefully these two sides can get together quick, or you're going to lose Trinity Rodman, you're going to lose other players. You do have players coming back. Now, don't get me wrong, Lindsay Heap's coming back to Denver from Europe shows that it is not purely going one way. The league is very competitive right now in this situation. But to get right for the future and beyond, the league, the players, everybody needs to get in the room and lock this down. Let's go around the corner real quick. Programming note, SDHAM live this morning at 9:05 on YouTube and on Twitch. John Nelson will break down the biggest moments from AFCON, news from around the world, reaction from yesterday's Atlanta United press conferences as well in hour number 1. Hour number 2 brings some global perspective with Nino Torres talking about España, talking about Portugal, and talking about South America, followed by Nico Moreno of Pulso Sports with the latest from around MLS. Mark your calendars for Friday at 10 o'clock as well. Rob Smethurst, the majority owner of Macclesfield, joins the show after the club's stunning FA Cup upset win last weekend over Crystal Palace. Huge opportunity to hear from one of the people behind one of the great stories in the world's game right now. Great get from John. Rob Smethurst, majority owner of Macclesfield, joining SDHAM on Friday at 10 a.m. The refill, some rapid-fire headlines as we wrap up. FIFA says it's received more than 500 million ticket requests for this summer's World Cup. Demand strongest from Germany, England, Brazil, Spain, Portugal, Argentina, and Colombia. Prices have drawn criticism, though FIFA says each federation will have access to $60 tickets for supporters who attended previous matches of their national teams. Tranmere Rovers, they could soon become the latest English club under American ownership. A bid from Ascent Capital Partners is awaiting EFL approval. The deal could push forward plans for a new stadium and Sport City development. Arsenal took a 3-2 advantage over Chelsea in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final. Goals from Ben White, Victor Gyökeres, and Martin Zubimendi give Mikel Arteta's side the edge heading into the second leg. Ajax, they suffered one of the worst defeats in their modern history, losing 6-0 to AZ in the Dutch Cup as Troy Parrott scored a hat trick. Their heaviest loss in the competition since 1927. The British Football Associations are pushing back on Arsene Wenger's proposed daylight offside rule. They want a more limited compromise revolving around the torso. So they're trying to split the difference between the rule now, what Wenger is saying, and they want something in between. I think the in-between's even harder to judge, but we'll see. Samuel Eto'o, the president of the Cameroonian Federation, he has been suspended for 4 matches following incidents during AFCON. We'll see how all of this ends up shaping out. It's a decision that sparked some controversy about due process. There's been a few of these sorts of issues during AFCON, and we'll see if the Confederation can get these resolved quickly. Club America, they stumbled in Clausura play again, a 2-0 home loss to Atlético San Luis, an early red card that left Andre Jardin's side chasing the game for more than an hour. Afterward, 2 games in, Jardin called for patience. They haven't picked up a win yet, says it's too early to draw sweeping conclusions about the team's direction. Toluca, 3-1 win over Santos Laguna in their second-round matchup in the Clausura. Spirited comeback, they are undefeated, back-to-back wins. The reigning champions fell behind early. They struck twice in quick succession, and they sealed it with a penalty late. Last one, Emelec in Ecuador. They are a giant in Ecuador, but they are facing a severe off-field crisis right now. Unpaid wages, mounting debt. They've pushed the club towards a breaking point. Supporters have announced plans to protest outside the Estadio Banco del Pacífico, Capwell, demanding accountability from club leadership as uncertainty grows around the club's future. The turmoil has already affected the squad, players previously refusing to train in response to salary delays. Ecuadorian football is under a broader financial strain, and Emelec's situation has become a pretty big example of how quickly instability off the field can threaten that competitiveness on it. Final whistle. Let's recap everything here. If there's one idea that ties everything together, it's this. The teams and leagues that thrive are the ones that choose to be protagonists. Atlanta United trying to become one again under Tata Martino. AFCON showed us that players like Sadio Mane and Yassine Bounou stepping into history, becoming protagonists, grabbing history for themselves. Real Madrid reminded us how quickly control of a narrative can slip away. The NWSL debate shows a league and the Players Association trying to decide on what kind of future that it wants to own. Being a protagonist is not just about possession or pressing. It's about ownership of standards, of identity, of responsibility. It's choosing to shape the story instead of waiting for somebody else to write it. That's the challenge in front of Atlanta. That's the challenge in front of Major League Soccer. The challenge in front of the global game as we move toward 2026. Not just to compete, not just to participate, but to lead. That's it. Morning Espresso, January 15th. Thank you for being part of the SDH Network community. If you enjoyed today's show, share it with a friend, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for another cup of espresso. Have a good Thursday.